Hello guys, good morning. Welcome to the session today. Hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Good morning.
okay, great. Good morning. So let us start the session, guys. Thanks for confirming. Okay, if you guys remember, in our previous sessions, we have seen what is Google Cloud Platform and how to interact with the Google Cloud Platform via console, Cloud Shell, and SDK. What is console, Cloud Shell, and SDK we have seen. And after that, I've also told you the console walkthrough, how to set up an account, how to create a project, and how to enable the building, and how to enable the APIs. And by using these interactive methods, we can able to interact with the multiple services in the Google Cloud Platform that we have seen, right? So we are going to start with one more cloud basic concept, that is GCP locations. So let us try to understand what is GCP locations. Before that, to set up the context, it's something that whenever you wanted to create any resource in the GCP, or whenever you wanted to deploy a location in the GCP, selecting a location is very important. For example, let me open the Google Cloud Platform. Let me go to the Google Cloud. For example, you wanted to create a bucket, or you wanted to create a uh, virtual machine. Okay, anything. If you wanted to do anything, one minute. I see the building is disabled for all the projects. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. So if you wanted to create a project, we have done how we have created a project, and once you have created a project, you selected the project properly, and then you go to any resource. I wanted to go to the service called cloud storage, and I wanted to create a resource such as cloud storage bucket in the Google Cloud Storage. If you wanted to create a bucket, you click and create, and you provide a name, and after that we must select the location. We must select the location. What it is actually is that, so whatever the location you are selecting is, in that particular location the data is going to be stored. And if you wanted to create some virtual machine, you need to specify the location, whether it is a region or zone. So whatever the resource you are going to create in Google Cloud Platform, we must select the location. For BigQuery also, so even for the BigQuery, if you wanted to create a data set, it will ask the location. So any resource in the GCP, whenever you wanted to create, you must specify the location. And it is a non-editable option. Okay, it is a non-editable option. Once you have provided the location, it cannot be changed. Okay, so let us try to understand about all the information about the locations now. Okay, in Google Cloud Platform, we have total 5 locations are there. Okay, so how these 5 locations is that? So if you think that Google has a plenty of infrastructure, that entire infrastructure is divided into these 5 locations. Google's entire infrastructure is divided among these 5 locations. These 5 locations are further divided into regions. These regions are further divided into zones. So this is how the regions and zones are divided. It's very simple. It's like this. If I take a country, our country, India, India is divided into multiple states. States are divided into multiple cities or villages, you can think of. So this is how a division. We have a world. So okay, so in a world we have multiple countries are there, right? So out of multiple countries, so for example, I will take India, US, China, multiple countries are there. Or for each country, they have their own states, they have their own cities. So that is the same region. Why they are doing this much of division is that the division importance is to provide the resources to each and every individual or company. Okay, if I provide the resources, all the resources for the Google Cloud platform, okay, so assume that this is the entire Google's infrastructure. Okay, why they have divided, let me go to tell you first. So if whatever the resources that the GCP is having, if that is only available in the North America, the only people near and around the North America people can use the resources from the GCP. But all over the world, such as South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, they cannot be able to use it. So that is the reason what they have done is that they have divided this entire infrastructure into multiple locations. Okay, so that some resources are available at North America data center, some resources are available at South America resources, some South America data center. So that so each and every location, whatever I have mentioned here, 5 locations have a set of resources in their own data centers. Okay, so these locations are further divided into regions. These regions are further divided into zones. Okay, so let me gonna show you in a world map. So for example, if you think that this is your world map, so this is what we call as a North America, and this is South America, this is Europe, and this is Asia, this is Australia. Okay, so whatever you are seeing the blue dots, right? Those blue dots I am calling as the regions. So the locations are further divided into regions as I'm telling you, right? So each location has a multiple regions. Okay, if you look at it in Asia, we have in India, we have Delhi and Mumbai are the 2 regions. So each region is having again a collection of zones. So that is how the division they have done it. It's to provide the resources to each and every individual who are there in multiple countries. So that is the main importance. So that they can have the less latency of GCP resources, high availability of the GCP resources. So that is the main reason that the Google has divided its entire infrastructure are organized into 5 locations, and we have 37 regions and 112 zones so far as of now. Okay, so this is the main reason, guys. Okay, in a simple words, GCP is organized into regions and zones. Each region is a collection of zones. The regions are available in Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America. Okay, in a simple words, even if I have to tell you, so if I take a one location, out of 5 locations, if I take a one location, the location is divided into multiple regions. Each region is a collection of zones. Each zone is connected to one more zone via high bandwidth network, and zones are having the resources. Zones are having the resources. So that is how you should be able to say like this. Okay, so this is how Google's infrastructure is like this. Okay, any question here, guys? Sorry. Any question, anyone?
So which region we will be connected to? Is it depends on the geographical area? Like let's say if I'm connecting from India, so
So
it will
the
be
triangle is something that they are going to create a one more region. Okay, so the future region you can think of. That's one thing. Okay, so you should be able to see here a triangle, right? So the triangle denotes they are going to create a one more region there. So the region creation is in progress. Okay, that's a future region. Yes. Okay, whoever is talking, please raise your hand, guys. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand so that I'll be able to see who is actually talking. So we will tell you, we will talk about that. Okay, so just try to understand what is GCP locations, and we will go there. We will go one by one. Yeah. Okay, so this is how Google's infrastructure is divided into 5 locations, and the locations are even divided into regions. Regions are further divided into zone. Each zone is connected to the one more zone. Zones are having the resources. Okay, so that is the reason each zone is having one data center. Okay, zones. In a zone, you will be having a data center. In a zone, you will be having a data center. When I say data center, what is mean by data center? In a data center, you will be having 2 types of resources. One is physical resources. One more is virtual resources. Physical resources is nothing but drives, disk, and all of those things. And virtual resources are like containers, virtual machines, all of those things. So this is how each zone is having a one data center. Inside the data center, we will be having the physical resources as well as virtual resources. Okay, so this is how on top of this data center only we are going to do the deployment. So that's the reason zones are also called as a deployment area. Zones are also called as a deployment area. It is because on top of the zone only we will be having the deployment. So you are going to deploy a resource or deploy one application on top of the data center resources only. So that is the reason a zone is also called as a deployment area or a deployment zone, or deployment area usually call it as. Okay, so this is how the category in a simple words: zone, regions, and the regions to the locations. So you have like this. Okay, let us try to understand the definition point of view. What is a region and what is a zone? A region is an independent geographic area that consists of zones. Zones and regions are the logical abstractions of underlying physical resources provided in one or more physical data centers. Okay, so what is a zone? Sorry, what is a region? A region is an independent geographic area, guys. It is a collection of zones. That's it. And how they have done the physical resources, that means whatever the resources that they have, right? How they have divided, they have divided in a logical abstraction that you may be having some resources in one region that may not be available in one more region. So they have their own logical abstraction behind that to divide the resources for the regions and zones. And each region consists of one or more data centers. And as I already told you, so for example, if I take a region, okay, that region is a multiple zones. Okay, so this is one more thing, guys. Each region will be having minimum 3 zones. Minimum 3 zones. Maximum 4 actually. Maximum it will be having 4, but it can have more than also. But the minimum should be 3. So most of the times it will be having 4. It can even go beyond 5 and 6 also. But most of the times you'll be able to see 4 only. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. As I told you, each zone is having a data center. Assume that this is a data center. Okay, so this is how it is. So each region consists of one or more data center. It's because that it will be having minimum 3 zones. So that's the reason one, two, three. Three data centers will be there. And why they have divided the regions and zones? It's because to provide the high availability, low latency for the applications and services deployed in those regions. What is the main importance of the regions and zones is that so Google Cloud Platform has designed to provide these regions and zones for the high availability and low latency for the applications and services deployed in these particular regions and zones. Okay, one of the example for the region is the US Central One. US Central One is one of the location for the region. Similarly, we have a zone also. A zone is a deployment area for Google Cloud resources within a region. We have just seen that. A zone is also called as a deployment area for Google Cloud resources within a region. The zones are physically separate from each other within a region to provide the fault tolerance and resilience. Each zone within a region is connected to the one more zone via high bandwidth network and low latency network. Okay, so this is what is zone, sir. It's a deployment area where the users are going to deploy the resources on top of the zones data centers only. Zones are physically separate from each other and connected via high bandwidth network. Mainly why they have separated and why they are connected is because to provide the fault tolerance and resilience. Okay, fault tolerance, resilience, and replication. I will tell you in few minutes. Okay, so this is the definition of a region and zone, guys. Okay, a region is an independent geographic area in a location. A zone is a deployment area for the GCP resources within a region. Okay, the main importance of dividing these regions and zones and locations is to provide the high availability, low latency, as well as optimal performance for the applications and services deployed in these regions or zones. Okay, one of the example for the region is US Central 1. One more example for the one example for the zone is US Central 1A. And one more is US Central 1B. US Central 1C. As I told you, one zone, one region will be having three zones. One region is equal to three zones. It's a collection of zones. Minimum three zones will be there. Okay, so that is how it is. And the important aspect is here. So now I've known what is a location, what is a region, and what is a zone. Can you tell me the selection criteria for the region and zone whenever I wanted to create a resource? And do we need to follow the selection criteria for defining the resource creation? Yes. So whatever the resource in Google Cloud Platform, if you wanted to create, so you must specify the location and which is a non-editable option. If you don't specify the location properly and which leads to the unavailability of the service, high latency of the service, there will be a network lag. So let us try to understand the selection criteria. We have total 3 points are there. If you're able to remember those 3 points whenever you wanted to deploy a resource or create an application in the Google Cloud Platform, which gives you an optimal performance for your resources. So let us try to understand. Now tell me guys, I'm going to tell you very simple idea. Assume that this is a world map. Assume that this is a world map and here we have India. So this is India guys and this is North America. Okay, so now a company in India wanted to deploy a resource. Okay, so a company, for example, take any company, they wanted to deploy a resource for the Indian users. So who are the users for this application? The application users are the Indian users only. This company wanted to deploy resources for them so that that application will be running properly so that the users can able to connect with an application they can benefit of. So that is they wanted to do it. Okay, now what this company has done is that this company has all the way deployed that application on top of the North America's data center. Okay, so this is a Google Cloud Platform only. In Google Cloud Platform, while they are defining an application, they can select their own location. So while they are creating the resource for the application, they have selected the North America's location. And they have deployed the application here. Now the application is running here in the data center of North America. Now your application is running in the data center of North America, which is running healthy. Now the thing is that who has to connect it to this application? Who are the target users? The Indian people are the target users. Now all the way from the India, they have to establish a connection to the application. If they wanted to access it all the way from the India, they have to connect it to the application because of the a lot of distance between them for the application as well as the data center and India. There will be a network lag will be there, and there will be a latency will be there. That application may not be available for them. Okay, so that is the reason they don't wanted to use the application at all. If there is a lag for an application, no one wanted to use that. right? So that is the reason they stopped using the application, and this company has a huge loss. The main thing is that whenever you wanted to deploy one application, try to think about the target users. Whenever you wanted to create any resource for the application, try to think about your target users. Where are your target users? If you try to deploy an application or a resource in any of the location, think about your target users. If they're gonna face any location issues, or the latency issues, or the network issues, or the availability issues. Okay, so that is the reason. The very first point in the selection criteria will say is that, so whenever you're deploying a resource in the GCP, it is important to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users or the customers. Okay, for example, if you are, instead of deploying the resource in the North America data center, try to deploy it in the resource nearby India. So maybe somewhere here, maybe somewhere here, so that the target users can able to easily access your application. So that is the reason whenever you are deploying a resource in the GCP for your application, it is important to consider the proximity of your target region, target users. So select a region or zone near to your target users. That is the main important point. Okay, which helps in providing the high availability, less latency, and less network lag. So this is the one of the very important selection criteria is that, so whenever you are deploying a resource in the Google Cloud platform, try to select a region or zone which is near to your target users or customers. So that is what is the first point is. Okay, so if you don't do that, this is what is going to happen. So if you try to deploy the resources in North America, people are not able to connect it to the application because there is a lot of lag will be there, network lag will be there for sure. So they are not able to get the optimal performance of the application. It's because they are facing a latency issues. Okay, so that is the reason the application may not be available for them all the time. So that is the reason whenever you wanted to deploy a resource in the Google Cloud platform, try to select a location which is near to your target users or customers. So that is our first point, sir. That is our first point. And the second point is that, tell me about this one, sir. For example, I have a region. This is zone 1, this is zone 2, this is zone 3. Okay, we have a region zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, sir. So for example, I need to store some 100 GB of the data. My client has given me the 100 GB of the data, so he asked me to store it. So what I have done is that I went to the Google Cloud Storage and selected, I went to the Google Cloud Storage and I have selected the region 1. I have only selected the single zone. Okay, so I selected the single zone and once I have selected, created a bucket, I have stored the data here. Okay, so I selected a single zone and inside that I have stored my data. Can you tell me if there is an earthquake happened at zone 1? There is an earthquake happened at the zone 1. What happens to your data? Can you guys tell me? If there is an earthquake or tsunami or some other unexpected failure happened at the zone 1, so what happened to your data? No.
It will
Tell me
be
what
ported to the
happened to your
second.
phone device. If there is a, no, don't think about that. If I did not talk about a backup or anything, right? So if you put a, you have selected a single zone. When we selected a single zone, there won't be any backup, right? Okay, so think about that. For example, when you have selected a single zone and when you have stored your data in a single zone, what happens is that due to the unexpected failure, you are going to lose your entire data, right? So when we are storing the data in a single zone, or when we are deploying a resource in a single zone, or when we are creating an application with a single zone, so whenever that zone is crashed due to some unexpected failure, you are going to lose your entire data or application. So that is the reason the second point says is that to deploy the fault tolerant applications with the high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures, deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. Okay, deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. So what is happening is that whenever you are selecting a single zone, if that is not if there is an unexpected failure in the single zone, you are going to lose your entire data. So that is the reason whenever you are deploying the resource, deploy it in a multiple zones, so that if you are able to select a multiple zones, if you are losing your data at a single zone, if this zone is crashed, you can have your data from here. If this zone is also crashed, you can have your data from here. So that is the reason the second point says is that try to deploy your application across multiple regions and zones to avoid the unexpected failures. Okay, to avoid the unexpected failures, try to deploy your application with the multiple zones. So that is the reason, if you guys remember, so what internally happens is that, when you select a multiple zones, so zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, we have a zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So you don't need to specifically go and deploy your application or deploy your resources in a different zones separately. So while you are deploying it, you can select a multi-zones option directly in a Google Cloud platform. You can select a multi-zones. So when you select a region and selected a multi-zones, what happens is that automatically your data will be replicated to the multiple zones. Your data will be replicated to the multiple zones. So for example, if you stored 100 GB of the data, that will be first loaded to the zone 1, it will be replicated to the zone 2, one more thing will be replicated to the zone 3, so that your data is available in the multiple zones. If one of the zone is crashed, you can have your data from here. If your this is also crashed, you can have your data from here. So this is what we call it as a fault tolerance and resilience, and this is also called as the replicating. So you don't need to specify the Google Cloud platform, and you don't need to replicate them manually. Automatically, it is going to be taking care of it. One more thing is that when you go for a single zone and when you go for a multiple zones, the cost will vary. So here the less cost will be there. When you go for a multiple zones, the cost will be more. So this is also you need to understand one more thing. So cost perspective, you need to think about one thing. And when you specify the multiple zones, you don't need to worry about what is happening inside. Automatically, it will be replicated to the multiple zones. So the data will be available in the multiple zones, or the resource will be replicated to the multiple zones. So that whenever unexpected failures, you don't need to worry about it, because it is already replicated via high bandwidth network. How it is replicated? So whenever we already seen that zones are separated from each other and connected via high bandwidth and no latency network. So this is what is the main reason for that. So to avoid the unexpected failures, you select a multi-zones. Whenever you select a multi-zones via high bandwidth network, data will be replicated. The resources will be replicated, so that there is a fault tolerance is that even though one of the zone is down and your data is coming from one more zone, and your application is with a high optimal performance, it is going to be working. So this is what we call as a replication. The second point is that one only, guys, you guys can see, to deploy a fault tolerant application with the high availability and help protect against the expected failures. Deploy your application across multiple zones in a region. So whenever you wanted to deploy something, if you think that particular data or the resource is going to be very critical for you, try to deploy across multiple zones or multiple regions to avoid the unexpected failures. So that is something that you need to remember. Okay, so that is our second point. Finally, the third point is that what the Google Cloud Platform says is that region to region, zone to zone, region to region or zone to zone, the cost may vary. So the region to region, the cost may vary. Zone to zone, the cost may vary. And one more thing is that region to region, the resources availability also vary. Resources also will vary. Resources means, so one of the resource available in the region 1 may not be available in the region 2. One of the resource available in the zone 1 may not be available in the zone 2. So this is something that we need to think about it. So the resource availability may vary from zone to zone, as well as the cost may vary. For example, if you have a virtual machines here, the virtual machines may not be here. Or if you have a virtual machines here and virtual machines here, the cost is $100 here, it could be $130 here. The cost may vary. So this is what I'm talking about. So the cost of the resources may vary, or the availability of the resources may vary. So this is what we call as the third point. So what is the third point says is that it's essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across the different regions and zones as they may vary. It is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones as they may vary. So what we have to think about it now. For example, sir, I wanted to store, or let me do this one for you. Sir, I wanted to store some 100 GB of the data in a virtual machine. I wanted to store some 100 GB of the data in a virtual machine. So what I have to do is that my client has asked me to store the 100 GB of the data in a virtual machine. So what we have to do, sir? Can you guys tell me what we have to do? First thing, what needs to be done? Think about it. Don't think about virtual machine. We need to create a resource. Just assume that this is a resource. So the client is asking me to store some 100 GB data. So we need to store that in the resource. So first we need to create the resource and then store the data. Right. So I went to the region. So in a region, we have three options: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Okay. So you can also think of like sometimes region 1, region 2, region 3 also. But for now, you can think of like zone 1. Or let me take it as a, so this is region 1, region 2, region 3. So this is location, sir. Okay. This is location. You have a region 1, region 2, region 3. Okay. Now tell me. So what is the first criteria that we need to remember, guys? If you wanted to deploy some resource, if you wanted to create a resource in Google Cloud Platform, if I wanted to create a resource in a Google Cloud Platform, so what is the first thing that we need to do, guys? Can you guys tell me? So if I wanted to create a resource, so for example, you go to the supermarket and you wanted to buy a one chocolate, what do you go and do first thing? Chocolate price. Can you just even before the chocolate price, what do you check? Even before the chocolate price. So when you enter into the supermarket and you will ask them that whether this kind of a chocolate is available or not at their location, right? So the availability is very important, right? That's what I'm telling you. You check the price later. But you first ask them that I wanted to have this chocolate, whether this available in your market or not. That's what you check it, right? So similarly here also, whenever you wanted to create a resource, as I told you, availability, you check for the availability of the resource first. Okay, so if that particular resource is available here, that's fine. It is not available here, and it is available here. So that is what it is. So you went to the three supermarkets, those chocolates are available. You wanted to buy some 100 chocolates, and in some supermarket it is available. In second supermarket it is not available. In the third supermarket it is available. So where do you have to buy again now? Tell me, guys. Where do you want to buy? Okay. And perfect. You go for the price, right? You will check. This is what we do, guys. So this is what every day we do. Okay, this is not something that we are not learning something a rocket science. This is what we do. Sir, I wanted to buy some chocolates, or I wanted to buy some stationery, or I wanted to buy some utensils, whatever you wanted to buy. You This is what you do. You go to the Flipkart, maybe Flipkart, Snapdeal, or the Amazon. You go for that one. You wanted to buy a shoes, what do you do? So whatever the brand you wanted to buy it, you first check it whether that is there in the Snapdeal. No, it's not there. It is there in Flipkart and Amazon. Yes, it is there in the Flipkart and Amazon. You tick mark it. So this is Flipkart. It is available. It is Snapdeal. It is not available, and it is in Amazon. It is available. Now tell me, what do you do next? Then you go to the Flipkart and you check the price. Okay, it is $200, and it is not available, so we don't worry about it. And in the Amazon, it was mentioned $190. Now tell me, where do you buy it? In Amazon, you will buy it. So that is what I'm doing. Okay. So the thing is that whenever you wanted to create a resource in the GCP, you first choose the availability of the resource. If that particular resource is available in the region 1, region 2, region 3 or not. If that is available, then you go for the pricing. Okay, so you will be selecting the available service with the less cost is your region for selecting your reason for choosing the deployment of the resource. So what you do, once you have selected, you go and create a resource here, then store the data here. 100 GB of the data, you store it. So this is what is my idea. So that is what is your third point says. That is what is your third point also says. Sorry. Sorry, guys. It is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones as they may vary. So, whenever you wanted to create a resource or deploy a resource, you understand the availability and you understand the pricing. Then you go for the choosing the region or zone. So, this is what we call as the selection criteria point 3. Okay, what is the point? One says deploy your resources near to your target users. Deploy your resources near to your target users. That means you select a location near to your target users whenever you wanted to deploy a resource. The second point says is that there may be an unexpected failure. To avoid the unexpected failure, you deploy your resources across multiple zones or regions in a location. Okay, you select a multiple regions or multiple zones based on your requirement. And the third point says is that try to understand the pricing as well as availability of the resources whenever you wanted to create it, because it may vary. Okay, so that is what is something that this is what we call this regions and zone selection criteria. Yes, this is one of the important aspect. Maybe I have covered it is only for 40-45 minutes, but the thing is that the depth of the course is very important because we are not much involved in this particular criteria, because the infrastructure team or the DevOps team will take care of it. The thing is that having the knowledge on the region and zone selection is very important for you. Okay, so having a knowledge on regions and zones is very important. So that is the reason the amount of topics that I covered for the DevOps as well as data engineering is same now. So you look at here, what is a region? You try to understand, okay, this is a region and this is a zone. So whenever I am creating a resource, I'll follow these steps. So this is what is called as a regions and zone selection criteria, which is very important. Now, it allows organizations to design and deploy their applications and services with high availability, resilience, and optimal performance. So that is what you now got it, right? So by learning the GCP locations, you got to know that what is a location, how it was divided into regions and zones, and why they have divided. And so by understanding the regions and zones, one can design and deploy their application with a high availability, resilience, and optimal performance by selecting a proper region and zone. So that is what is the main importance of this regions and zones, guys. Okay, so this is what is GCP regions and zones. If you guys have any, let me just recap it and we will see if you guys have any questions. So whoever is having any questions, please raise your hand, guys. I will ask you one by one. So Google Cloud Platform has a plenty of infrastructure that they have divided its infrastructure into 5 locations, into 37 regions and one zones, mainly to provide the resources to each and every individual that are there in different countries. So this is how you can able to see. If you look at a wall map, we have here North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. These are the 5 locations for the divided into regions. The blue dots are the regions. Each region will be having the zone. And in India, we have 2 regions, Mumbai region and Delhi region. Okay, you can see here. So if I take a one globe, it will be a multiple regions. Each region is a multiple zones. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay, this is how location. If I take a one single location, which is a collection of regions, which is a collection of zones, and each zone is connected to the one more zone via high bandwidth network and low latency network, and each zone will be having a data center and physical data center and virtual data center. Sorry, physical resources and virtual resources will be there in the data center. And on top of these resources only, we are going to do the deployments. So that is the reason zones are also called as a deployment area. A region is an independent geographic area in a location. A zone is an independent area in a zone which is connected to the one more zone via high bandwidth network, and it is a deployment area. The selection criteria, the first point says is that whenever deploying the resources in the GCP, it is important for us to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users or the customers. To deploy the fault tolerance applications, to protect the application with a high availability and less latency. So to avoid the unexpected failures, to deploy your applications across multiple zones and regions. So the important thing is that deploy your applications across multiple zones and regions to avoid the unexpected failures. And try to understand the pricing as well as availability of the resources across different regions and zones as they may vary. Okay, so that is what it is, guys. If anyone have any questions, please raise your hand. Yes, for us, Khan. Yes. Okay. Okay. You select multiple regions, right? You select a multiple regions. Correct. Correct. So whenever you deploy a resources, you try to deploy the resources with the multiple regions. So what happens is that so your application will be it doesn't mean that it is not available. So that's what you have to understand. For example, you are deploying a resources here. It doesn't mean that it is not available to here. This application you created here, it doesn't mean that it is not available to here. It is available, but with a very less latency. So that's the reason what people try to do is that try to deploy the applications in multiple zones and multiple regions, so that the application will be available all the time and to all the audience as well. Okay. Okay. So that is their logical abstraction. That's not we're not sure about that. So that's what even not only for the this particular cloud, it's like this, right? So it's like a supermarket again. So in there are few items which are there in the supermarket one, and that is not available in the supermarket two. Okay, so that's how it's like this. So the audience, the people staying near this supermarket, they are buying a lot of dairy milk chocolates. Okay, but they are not eating the milky bar. Here could be opposite, right? This could be opposite. Here they wanted to like the milky and the dairy. So what happens if this guy went to this one, they don't find the dairy milk more. It's because they are not, their surrounding people not buying it. So that's, it could be totally a regional or logical abstraction. Based on that, they might have divided the resources, right? So it's a logical abstraction behind how they have designed the resources, whether that is available in one region and another region. So we are not totally sure. But if you wanted to check it, whether that particular region, sir, I wanted to check it. So whenever I'm deploying a resource, I wanted to check it first, whether that resources is available in the particular region or not. If you wanted to check, you can go to GCP locations. You have a public documentation for that. Okay, so for each region and zone and the resources, if you wanted to check it, you can able to check it here. For each resources, you will be able to check what are the resources available. So resource file, you America, North America, Europe, Asia, Africa. So you have multiple things here. So region wise, you can able to select it. So for example, again, you can even go. So whenever you wanted to deploy it, you can able to come here and you can able to check it here. Region wise, zone wise, all the availability, you can able to check it here. Okay, you have a proper documentation for each and everything. And the cost also, whenever you wanted to check the cost, or I wanted to check the cost of one resource, you can always go to the documentation for that as well. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yes, Pradeep. So, guys, if you have wanted to ask any question, please raise your hand. Okay. Sorry. This no resource is nothing but the service. Under the service, whatever you call them as a resources. Okay, whatever you are creating is nothing but a resource only here. For example, you are creating. So, Google Cloud Platform supports BigQuery data sets. Okay, you created data set. That's what I'm calling as a resource. Okay, Google Cloud is providing you the cloud storage. That is a service to you. Cloud storage. Under the cloud storage, you are creating a bucket. It is again a resource to you. Okay, so whatever you create under the services is nothing but a resource. Whatever you create in a Google Cloud platform is nothing but a resource. Okay, whether you create a service account, that is a resource. Whether you apply a IAM rule, that is also a resource. Whatever you define something is nothing but a resource in Google Cloud platform. Okay, yeah. Yes. Any other questions, anyone? If you guys have any questions, please ask me, guys. We have like 5 minutes. And tomorrow's topic is Google Cloud IAM and admin. So we talk about the IAM and admin. So this is even if you go the name vary. So wanted to log resources are important and so we have these things. I think I have shown you. Yes, I've shown you guys. Yeah. Yes. You guys can get records from the admin. So if you ping them, they will help you on that. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So that is our next topic. I am an admin. I'm going to talk about the access control tomorrow onwards. That is our
Where we can find the
okay, guys.
material like which you're showing us the PPTs and the
Okay,
Word
the material
document,
you
like
can
the way.
always ask the admin. The material as well as recordings, everything you can ask the admin only, guys. So they will provide you on that. Okay. So for the material, video recordings, and all of those things, connect with the admin. They will help you on that.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yes. Oh, okay. Actually, I think I have the video created for that. So if you guys wanted to create a, I think I might have told you in last 2 minutes also. So here I have a video, guys. Okay. So this video tells you how to create